Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Angela, and I am thrilled to be with Gloria Bettini today. She is a globally respected spiritual guide, mentor, and advocate for conscious living. And through her transformative readings, one on one mentorship programs, live events, and online courses, Gloria empowers individuals to find inner harmony, unlock their psychic gifts, and connect with the universal energies around them. With years of experience and a deeply intuitive understanding of energy and spirit, she has guided hundreds of clients on their paths to spiritual awakening, healing, and empowerment. So, welcome, Gloria. It's so nice to have you.
Thank you for having me, Angela. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm so interested. What really started you on this journey to do this spiritual work?
Well, I think the journey itself, it's what
Mhm.
started. You know, I was on a journey that then got me onto another journey. And it was just, it was very much, this is actually something it's the force that's behind everything that I do and is to help people come home to themselves. So I believe that that's also what's happened to me. It was my own journey of coming home to myself. And I feel that the more I stay here with the spiritual work that I do, the more I feel that this is definitely 100% my home. So, but it was a long one. It was a long journey. I was very connected and very sensitive as a child, but I was very criticized for it. I was
Mhm.
very, like, you're so dramatic, you're so sensitive, all these things. And so I disconnected. That's caused the disconnection, that it wasn't great to feel this much. It's not that I stopped feeling, because you never stop, but it sort of starts to become a part of yourself that it's too much, quote unquote, a little bit too much, a little bit over the top kind of thing. And so you don't pursue it then for what it can be, for the full potential that it can have, because you don't feel comfortable with what it is. And a lot of things in childhood led me on to toxic relationships. I was in a toxic marriage for about 15 years. So all of this. And then fast forward, I'm around, I think it was the year that I turned 30, that I decided that there was something very wrong with everything. There was something really wrong with everything. I was riddled with anxiety. I had generalized anxiety. I had OCD as well. And my days were very difficult. I was high functioning, so I was showing up for a demanding job, and I was going and going and going, but the going was always paired with a really, really high level of anxiety, really controlling, mind controlled by OCD. And I got to a point where I honestly did not know what was going to happen. And I thought I really have to do something about this, because I started to think, like, this is worrying me. This is actually worrying me. Like, what could actually happen to me? How could I spiral? And so I decided to work with a coach, and she specialized in anxiety disorders, and she really, really helped me. I worked with her for 3 years in total. But in the first year and a half is where we targeted more, what was the origin of the anxiety, what was the origin of the OCD, and how to um, get rid of it, really, or get rid of both, really. And so I remember the first session that we had, I told her about, many things in my life, difficult relationships, and a relationship with my mom and everything. And I remember her asking me, "What about your husband?" You know? And I said, "Oh, thank God he's here, thank God for him." She clearly saw something that I wasn't seeing yet, And then fast forward a year and a half, and I thought, oh, this actually makes a lot of sense. I think that I know where the problem is. I really think I
Mhm.
know where the problem is. And then I took a trip to the US, actually, because I'm based in England. I took a trip with my ex-husband in the US, and I visited Monument Valley. And I was very lucky to be able to do a tour of the valley with a Navajo guide um, at sunrise. And they took us to this beautiful place in the valley. It's called John Fort Point, and you're just sat on this edge of this rock, and you can see the whole valley in front of you. And it was a very emotional moment. You feel, I mean, this was my experience. I don't know if everybody who goes there feels this way, but I felt very tiny. I felt like my problems were very tiny, and nature and this, and also it's spiritual land, so it's really charged with a beautiful, spiritual energy. And I thought, what am I doing? What am I even doing? And it just dawned on me. I don't know what it was, God, whatever it is that it was, God, the universe, the angels, whatever it is that it was, it just downloaded it I felt it landing inside of me.
Mm.
And I had the realization that I was living a complete lie. And I said, okay, I promise I am never going to lie to myself ever again. And then from there, that's when I started putting things in place. And then 6 months after, 9 months after, actually, I left the marriage, and I slowly started to come home to myself. But I wasn't yet open to anything spiritual. I mean, I had it in me, but I wasn't yet there. But it's from there that then I started this whole journey, and things have started coming back to me, feeling more connected to spirit, feeling more connected. I did spiritual sessions, and mediums and spiritual coaches were telling me, you have so many beings around you, you have to do something. And then finally I decided that I was going to do some intuitive development training, and that's then I started doing this. But yeah, it was all, I think you think it's the end of a journey, but it was actually very much the beginning. It really was. It really was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so, I mean, lots of people say that everyone can do this to a point. I think the reference was given to me that, we aren't all going to be Michael Jordan, but we can all, bounce a
Yeah.
basketball or, play in some way.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, what is your thought about that?
Oh, firmly believe that. Yeah, 100%. Yes, 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 yes. I'm, in all of my live events, you have so many, and people are so kind, people are so, so kind and so open to this. And I always get, comments, oh, Gloria, thank you for sharing your gift. This is such a gift. And I always, whenever I see these comments, I go there and I say, no, it is not a gift. I'm so like, thank you. I'm so, I'm so grateful that you're enjoying this. I'm so grateful that it's useful. But I want you to know that this isn't a gift. This isn't something special. And the reason why so many people feel that they can't do it is because we're still seeing it as a gift. And it feels like we need to be so special, like so chosen, to be something like this. It's really not. It's really not. We're all born with an intuition. That's what where psychic abilities are. That's where they reside, in our intuition. We're all born with that. There isn't a single person on the planet that does not have an intuition. It is true that some of us are more connected than others. Yes, of course. Maybe some of us have been more encouraged when they were little. You never know. Like some maybe they had more open parents or whatever it is. But we all have them. And even if you don't feel like you're connected to your intuition right now, then definitely with training, you can, like you said, you can learn how to bounce a ball for sure. You definitely can. But it is, I really want people to know this. It's something that we can really all do. And when we embrace this part of ourselves, I feel that there's such a different life waiting for us once we embrace this part of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I know that mediumship for me was something that helped to really bring me closer to Blaine and help me build that relationship with him
Mhm.
because I would be able to get messages from mediums or healers that I couldn't get, you know, they
Yeah.
couldn't have possibly known.
Yeah.
and and so that really opened the door for me to realize that that connection is there. And so can you tell me a little bit more about how mediumship can be healing for people who are in grief?
Yeah, absolutely. I think mediumship is such a beautiful tool for one's grief journey. It really, really is. The way that I see it is that mediumship gives us the opportunity to create a new relationship with the person that's now passed to the other side. You know, we are all here, you know, physical world, energy world, we're all here, all happening at the same time, right? It's, you know, even the souls who have crossed that don't have a physical body anymore, we're still all here, part of the same energy, all happening at the same time, because the whole universe is, right? Regardless of wherever we are, the whole universe is here happening at the same time. And so I feel that what we have been missing for a long time, when we, you know, think about life and death and the afterlife and all these things, I think that there's a lot of people that are still thinking about death as the end, just because it's the end of the physical body. The way that I see death is as a transformation. And when we pass, we lose our physical body, or we move on from our physical body. I don't like the losing term to associate it with that, but we move on to from a physical body, and we go back to being energy. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't continue the relationship. It's like every single relationship, it grows to different stages. And once one of the two crosses, it just develops into something else. And I feel that if people open themselves up to this, there is so much growth, so much relief, so much healing that can be had from understanding that this is an opportunity to have a different relationship. You know, this is an opportunity to continue the relationship and to let it grow. And what a magical way as well, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
What a magical way as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It feels like magic, you know,
It
it
is.
really does. And it's
Yeah.
such a beautiful thing. So tell me, one of the things I'm curious about and have always been curious about is the Akashic records. I've heard
Yeah.
a lot about them and I've worked with people and they've gone in and read my Akashic records, but I still don't understand completely what they are. So can you explain more about those?
Yes, of course. I love the Akashic records. Oh, it's such beautiful work is done. So first of all, one thing that I want to say, all of the things that we're mentioning, you know, mediumship, the Akashic records, and then, you know, before we started the episode, we were talking about oracle cards, you know, even
Mm.
tarot, like all these things. So these are all tools that we utilize to read energy, right? Because energy is, we have the written words that we can open a book or open up our phone or laptop and we read those. And we have our eyes, we learn how to read the words, we learn what the letter means, and we put it all together and we read a book. Okay. These are the same thing for energy. Energy is, you know, invisible in some way, you know, in some ways, you know, we can see the waves and stuff, but a lot of it is invisible. And so all of these are just ways and tools that we can utilize to access a world that is not physical, that is energetic. And so the Akashic record is a tool, a part of this energetic world that has that holds history and holds answers with regards to someone's journey, someone's deep soul journey. Consider it an archive, right? A beautiful archive space where we can access all these things. And these are just, as I said, these are all tools that we utilize to tune in to different types of energy. So when we utilize the Akashic records, we go into the archive. And so we can have a look at things like past lives. We can understand the soul's journey. You know, who have I been before I was this version of me? You know, how many people have I ever been a healer? Have I ever been in the military? You know, have I ever been, you know, whatever, you know, have I ever been a mother? Have I ever been a father? You know, all these things. And it just, it's a way of accessing our history and our multidimensionality as well. It's a way to see where is it, what are our karmic bonds and who are they with and what do we have to learn from them, our soul contracts, even some of our spirit guides. It's all a way of understanding ourselves better, especially when we feel like we want to do work that has to do with our life purpose, like understanding what is it that I'm here to do, because it's through a lot of that is through past lives, through contracts, that we get to understand more about ourselves. I hope I explained this right, but I feel that yes, all of these things are just tools to access this beautiful world of energy that's around us, so that we can, as I said earlier, come home to ourselves even more,
Mhm.
understand ourselves even more. Yeah.
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 And the way that you access that, is it very similar to the way that you get messages from spirit?
From spirit, do you mean mediumship?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So not necessarily. So there are different techniques to access the different things. And so if I were to do, so when I do mediumship, I don't tune in to your energy, but I search the energy of the person that we want to speak to. So I have to go somewhere else, right? But when I want to access your Akashic records, then I tune into your energy. And, you see yourself, you look in the mirror and you see yourself as this, you know, person, this body that you have. But when we look into someone's energy and we read that, it's just so vast. It's a whole galaxy. It's a whole galaxy. And this is why I'm so excited that more people are opening up to their own intuitive abilities and to wanting to learn how to use that, because it really gives you the opportunity of seeing yourself not as the body, but as the soul behind the body. So you have a different point of view, I
Right.
feel. And it all feels so expansive, so
Yes.
expansive.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about the whole spirituality and healing concept?
I think that the biggest thing that has come across in my journey is that people look for God outside, and it's not. It really isn't. If there is one thing that I would love, if there was just one thing that I could say, and every single person on the planet would get it immediately, what it means and the whole concept of it, I think that would be it. That God is inside. Whatever God means to you, God, the universe, source, whatever, because I know that the word God can be triggering to a lot of people. So whatever that means to you, whatever you identify the most with, whatever it is. But I would definitely say that I would want them to know that. So to me, the biggest misconception is that we have to search for God as an outside entity, when it isn't. He really isn't. We're all it. We're all part of it. We all have it inside. And actually, I also believe that the reason why a lot of things are the way that they are in the world is because we have taught to look for it outside. And therefore, we develop so much insecurity, so much unworthiness. I couldn't possibly be worthy of so much love. You are, because it's already there. It's already inside. It's already there. So that would be that for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it relates a lot to us always looking for answers or what we desire outside of us as well. And that whole piece of chasing, the big house, the fancy car, and trying to get happiness that way
Yeah.
instead of finding those answers and looking for that peace
Yeah.
and fulfillment and joy inside of us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And, it's not going to be easy.
Mhm.
It's not easy because in order to find the answers inside, you also have to skim through the scary stuff and the uncomfortable stuff. right? You have to take all the cobwebs out. You have to deep clean, you have to just go sort through a lot of things. Um, but I think if what are we doing if we don't do that? What
Mhm.
are we even here to do? Isn't that the greatest gift, to be able to just get to know yourself and see how much in just this one person, how much there is, and how much you can change, that it doesn't matter where you came from, because you can just take it all out and rebuild it as you want. Um, so yeah, I feel
Yeah.
that you.
Yeah. And I think we get caught up in the fact, like when you say, well, we can just change, people think, well, that I can't do that. I have this job. How am I supposed to, financially be okay if I just change? There's all of that. And, it's really a journey of trust and faith and surrender. And I know a lot of people have trouble with self love and self care. They don't know how to do it because we've always sought everything that we needed from outside of us. And so, can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah. So, I mean, self-care is not easy. It really isn't. It takes a whole lot, a whole different level of love and respect for yourself. And I think that if you ask people the question, do you love and respect yourself? The majority of people would just give you the conscious answer. They would be like, yes, that's a ridiculous, question. But I think when it comes down to it, to really, really looking, no, the reality is that not a lot of us do, not a lot of people do. And so I think if there's anything that you're here to do, is to put yourself first. And it's not selfish. It really isn't selfish. And again, isn't that massive conditioning? What a shame. What a shame that we've been taught that putting ourselves first is selfish. I would not see any other way. Because if we don't look after ourselves, then what is it that we're giving to the people that we love? What are we giving to our children? What are we giving to our partners? What are we giving to our work? What are we putting out in the world if we're not okay? If we are sacrificing, if we are putting ourselves aside, we're putting out resentment, we're putting out guilt, and if you go around and ask, these are the things that people want to remove. We don't want to build a society on guilt, on resentment, on hate, on separation. People know that these are the problems, especially with the current, situations in the world. People are starting to know, like, this is too much. And yet they still don't put themselves first.
Mhm.
But this is what we have to understand. We have to understand that it starts with us. It starts with the man in the mirror, doesn't it? It
Yes.
starts with us. There is no other way other than leading by example. Whatever it is that you want to see in the world, you have to do it. It does not come down to anybody else. I really feel that that's the responsibility that we have to take. It
Mhm.
really doesn't come down to anybody else. And even if you can't love yourself at first, because it's tough, it really is, at least just show up, just do it, just humor yourself. Humor yourself, just do it, just try it out, fake it till you make it, try it out. And I guarantee you that you're going to start seeing some difference in the way that you show up. And then eventually, it might take you a little while, but eventually you will believe it.
Mhm.
It's just that it's yeah, leading by example. I think we have, it starts with us. It has to. It has
Yeah.
to.
So, can you give an example in your life of how you put yourself first?
Yeah. So I tried I try because we're always all trying, aren't we? Yes. Um, I have learned to put very solid boundaries. I have really learned to put very solid boundaries. I have shrunk my friendships massively. And it's not because of time, it's because of alignment. It's because I realized a lot of people were saying the word friend but they didn't have the same concept of friendship that I had. And so I started to think, oh, wait a minute though, what am I doing in the way, how is this impacting the world that I'm building? If I am resentful that this friendship is not working, you know what I mean? If I don't see that, if this is unbalanced, what is happening here, right? So it takes reevaluating your environment, reevaluating your friendships. I think that I put myself first when I left my marriage, simply because it just, as I said, I did not know what was going to happen. If I stayed, I just could not stay anymore. You know, it's never going to be um, a bad decision to put yourself first. It really isn't. But I do try. Yes, boundaries. Boundaries are the main thing. You have to learn to say no. You really have to learn to say no.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that all the things that we are talking about, and this is my reality, is that grief forces you to look at yourself in all these ways that we've been talking about. So it forces you to look, reevaluate your relationships, reevaluate what you're doing in life, what you really want to show up as and who you want to be and what you want to do. It's just all of that revisiting and really looking inside. It forces you because the pain is so intense that you don't know what else you can do. And there's nothing that comes from the outside that can heal that wound. It all has to be healed from the inside. So it's really a sacred journey that takes you to this place, and all of these things, like I say, that we've been talking about. Really, grief is a catalyst to take you to that place and to make you look. And I always think that people think, well, what difference can I make? I'm just one person, and if I change me, how does that help the world? And I know this, but I want to know your perspective on that, because I know, like, with the fires in California and all the other things that are happening in the world right now, people are scared, they're afraid, and they wonder what they can do.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, you reminded me. This was one of the biggest wake up calls. This is what actually prompted me to leave my job and do something different with my life. Yeah. So this is how much one person can do. So I got divorced and I went about my life differently. Obviously, I had, early divorced. I started to look at myself differently. I live my life in a different way. I obviously no longer have a massive weight that I am carrying, and da da da. So I had a bit of a physical change because I lost weight, because I was obviously feeling relieved of all of that pain that I was carrying. And something funny started to happen, something interesting started to happen. That a lot of people that I was interacting with in my life, they were coming to me and saying, oh, wow, I wish I could do that. Like, oh my God, what a change. Oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, you've inspired me to do this. You've inspired me to do that. Oh, now I'm looking at my relationship. Maybe I should be thinking about me. And so I started to take a step back a little bit and look at all these people in my life and saying, wait a second, this was just one of me. This was one. And I've had at least 20 people coming that I've interacted with. And some of them I hadn't seen in a long time. So it's not even that they reached out to tell me, that I just casually met them. And I thought, wait a second. And I'm not putting any intention into this. I'm just living my life, right? But wait a moment, if I actually put intention, so if I want more women to feel empowered within themselves, and they don't have to be in a toxic relationship, what if I studied? What if I retrained and I could reach more people? And so I did. And in the first part of my career, since I changed my career, in the first part, for a year and a half or two, that's what I did. I helped women recover from toxic relationship and leave toxic relationship. So, and then from there, I noticed something even crazier. So I was now helping these people, these women professionally, from a professional point of view. And they were coming back to me and they were like, oh my God, Laura, my friend has just done this because I told her that we're doing this work. So she decided she's going to do that. And then another client came to me and said, you know, my daughter, we opened up, we had this conversation, and she said that she's going to now do this other thing in her life. And I started to see the ripple effect. And I was like, yes, this is what it is about. And look, I'm just one person. But then from me, then, you know, this daughter or this other client, there's another 50, 100 people that go from there, maybe thousands, you know? So you have no idea how big you are. You have no idea how big you are. You know, if I think that probably that's one of the biggest mistakes that we can do, to think that we're so non inconsequential. Is that a word? Is that what it is? Something like that, isn't it? That we're so like that we don't impact anything. No, we do impact everything. We do impact every single thing, even if you don't see it. You know, remember that everything is energy. So with your work, with you showing up, even if you just help one person, and then that person is going to help 300, you helped 301.
Mhm.
Remember that. Right? It's all about that. It's so much bigger than we think. So much bigger.
Yeah, beautiful. I love the way that you described that. I knew
Yeah.
you were going to have a great answer for that. Oh, that's awesome. So, how can people find you or work with you?
Yeah, of course, I would love to. So you can go to my website, is gloriabettini.com, and it tells you all about the different modalities that I use. It tells you about mediumship, it tells you about the Akashic records. So you can see there, and there's different courses. If you're interested in the intuitive development, so in actually training your psychic abilities, it's also there because I'm also a teacher. So you can heal, or you can train with me. We can do both. We can do both. But if you want to have a taste of what I do in terms of live events and stuff, I stream on YouTube pretty much every week, and I'm a teacher on Insight Timer, on the Insight Timer app. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Oh,
It's a spiritual app for meditation and loads of other different things. So
okay.
I highly recommend checking it out. So I'm a teacher on there, and I do regular live events. So you can check out what it's like to work with me, some of my content from there. And we have a beautiful community on Insight Timer as well. And all of the events that I do on Insight Timer are also streamed on to YouTube. So there's loads on my YouTube channel as well that you can revisit. And there's like examples of readings, there's moon ceremonies, there's meditations, there's visualization, there's all sorts. So have a look at that, and absolutely reach out if you feel called to. I would love it. This work is the greatest honor, so
Yeah.
it's my absolute pleasure.
Yeah. And you're just such a beautiful energy yourself. It's just, I can't, I'm sure people are going to resonate with you. And I really encourage them to have a look at your work. Do you have any advice or parting words that you want to share before we go?
Um, Advice. I don't know. I always think when people ask me for advice, I always feel like, oh God, am I? What advice can I give to the people? I would say, well, thank you. If you're choosing to do anything out of this episode, even if it's not with me, if you're choosing to take a step in your life towards healing, towards discovering yourself more, towards giving yourself a chance, towards putting yourself first, towards setting boundaries, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, because I think that's the most valuable, amazing things you could do to contribute to changing the world. So if as a result of listening to this, you're feeling inspired to do something like that, then oh my goodness, mission accomplished. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And thank you for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. It's been such a pleasure, Angela. Thank you.
And thanks everyone for listening, and bye for now.